the concepts we are going to cover, or what are the concepts that are there in a RESTful application programming model. So we'll start with our database table. Of course, you need to have a database table where you are going to store your data. So we'll, of course, talk about how can you create those database table in BTP ABAP. Again, you already know the concepts, but from the tool familiarity perspective, we are going to discuss about that. Now, we are also going to discuss about core data service, CDS. So with SAP HANA, you would have definitely heard or you would have worked on CDS views. It is one of the way of achieving code push down technique. And we are going to create CDS view. So this is the way to create your data models. And we are going to add the UI annotations in the CDS view. So again, this is not a prerequisite. We are going to cover all the details right from the very base to an advanced level that you need to know for core data service. So we are going to cover core data service as part of this course. Now, for all the CRUD operations or any kind of validation, determination, locking, what do we call it? E-tag. So any kind of business object behavior we are talking about, we are going to create behavior definition, behavior projection, behavior implementation. So these are all the different types of artifacts that we are going to create, and we are going to learn about these artifacts. Then we create the final objects. On the exposure layer that we create is the service definition and binding. Here we have an option to create either an OData v2 or an OData v4 service. We can also create web APIs as well here. So we have all the different APIs or the different formats using which we can expose our backend data or the logic that we have written in the behavior implementation. And then finally, once you consume those OData v2 services, it gets consumed as a Fiori element app, and you can perform all your CRUD operations, your different kind of behavior characteristic that you want to implement, the custom buttons, all those logic can be implemented. So here again, every layer that you see, either it is written in ABAP or ABAP-like syntax. So the UI annotation that you're going to write, even it is like ABAP-like syntax, and the data model or the DDIC or the CDS object, even the logic that we are going to write here, we are going to create an ABAP class. So your logic lives here. So we are going to write the logic in an ABAP class. So everything should look familiar, but the programming model changes. So what object needs to be created, how it needs to be created, all those we are going to discuss. Again, I get a lot of question that we have been learning or we have been implementing RISEP. So what all is there in BTP? Of course, not everything we are going to cover as part of RESTful application programming model. But yes, when we talk about okay, I made some mistakes while implementing the slide, so please ignore the first letter. But when we talk about reports, yes, it is fully supported, but the user experience or the way user accesses your data gets changed. It would be through a Fiori element app. You could create a CDS and then you create or expose that CDS as an OData service, and that gets consumed as a Fiori element app. So yes, reports are fully supported. And here we are going to create the new version or the Fiori element app. Forms and script of SAP script. So the Adobe Forms we already have started using. Many of you would have already worked on Adobe Forms. So Adobe Forms on BTP is also supported. We are not going to talk about forms here. Interfaces, yes, it is supported, and the modern way of interfacing. So now we would not be talking about iDocs, which is an SAP proprietary, or we should not be implementing or creating an RFC. We should not be talking about a remote enabled function module where the security could be compromised. You cannot make it very generic. You cannot connect to, let's say, a cloud platform. So we would be creating OData APIs. We would be creating OData v2, v4, or even web APIs. So yes, interfacing techniques are there, and we are going to implement the modern APIs, If you talk about the world, maybe the 70% of the interfaces that are being developed or being used are on OData or REST API. So we are going to talk about the most advanced interfacing techniques to be used here. For conversion, LSMW, BDC. So now we talk about BTP migration cockpit. Again, it is supported in BTP, but we are not going to cover about the migration cockpit. Side-by-side extension, I have been talking about this particular word a lot. So what is side-by-side extension? How do we implement side-by-side extension, and how RAP helps in implementing side-by-side extensibility or developer extensibility? So yes, it is fully supported in BTP ABAP, and how to implement that, we are going to talk about that as well. Forms I already talked about. So yes, Adobe Forms are there. For workflows, there are new concepts. So we have build process automation for the business workflows, for the robotic process automation. Again, that's a different topic altogether. We are not covering that. So yes, we are not going to go into the details of many of the topic, but we are going to cover the overview of SAP BTP. What is SAP BTP? What do we mean by cloud platforms or the cloud service model? How to create an account in SAP BTP? How to subscribe for a service? How can I find out what are the services available on SAP BTP? So I said there is another service which is for automation. How do I find out that particular service? What kind of a prerequisite? What would be the costs associated with that particular service? So all those topics we are going to answer in this particular course. We are going to create a BTP account. We are going to subscribe for some services. I'll show you how to do the subscription, how to create your BTP ABAP environment, how to configure that in Eclipse, how to use ADT. All those topics will be covered. So yes, we are not going to cover in great details about forms or maybe workflows. But after completing this course, after understanding BTP, you will be in a position to at least explore those solutions, or would be able to recommend those solutions to your project or to your customers. Don't go on the number of hours. These are tentative, but this will be the high level the course that we are going to cover. So we will start with the cloud and the BTP foundation. We are going to talk about the cloud service model. We are going to talk about BTP overview. What is SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS? What is clean core strategy? So all those concepts we are going to discuss. We are going to discuss about data dictionary in BTP ABAP, how to create your dictionary object using ADT in Eclipse. And then we will cover all the related components of that. So domain, data element, of course, we are going to at least create one object of each. And then we are also going to talk about RESTful application programming model. So a majority of time or the majority of the effort we are going to spend will be on RESTful application programming model. So we are going to create the transactional application where we'll be able to perform all the CRUD operations, the different business object characteristics, be it validation, determination, custom actions, the draft functionality, all those we are going to discuss here. On BTP also, I'll talk about setting up your BTP account, connecting it to Eclipse, and then start using that for your development. So that we are going to cover. Core data service, we are going to cover this as a complete module. We'll start from very basic. We will understand about the code push down technique, why it is beneficial, why that should be implemented, what kind of benefits it adds, and of course, how to create or how to implement core data service. So that we are going to discuss. We are also going to discuss about the different extensibility options. So extensibility overview, what is clean core concept, and how RAP or BTP ABAP complements in the clean core concept. So that also we are going to discuss here. We are talking about the new version of ABAP. So not just the classic ABAP, but we are talking about cloud ABAP, which is the modern syntax. So we are going to talk about that. What are the different syntax that we are going to use? We are going to talk about EML entity manipulation language. We are going to cover that here. For RAP, we are going to create not just the transactional application. There could be a requirement that we want to create a read-only application. So we will cover that as well. And in RAP, we are going to talk about both the implementation types. So those who have heard of RAP, You would have heard of managed implementation, unmanaged implementation. So that also we are going to discuss about both the implementation type. When should we go for managed implementation type? When should we go for unmanaged implementation type? So along with examples, we are going to discuss that. And at the end, what you're going to see will be a Fiori element app. So in the Fiori element app, generally there are two components or two types of pages, the list page and the object page. So we are going to create both the pages. We are going to add UI annotation and create the different